All right, let's look at the story about Cabinet deciding that South Africa's diplomats in Israel will be recalled for further consultation on the situation in Gaza. The minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, made that announcement a short while ago. She was briefing the media on the outcome of last week's Cabinet meeting. Ntshavheni says Pretoria is disappointed with Israel's continued bombing, mentioning schools and hospitals, and also saying with the closure of humanitarian passages into Gaza.
A genocide under the watch of the international community cannot be tolerated. Another Holocaust in the history of humankind is not acceptable. And the South African government has decided to withdraw all its diplomats in Tel Aviv for consultation. Cabinet has also noted the continuing disparaging remarks of the Israeli ambassador to South Africa about those who are opposing the atrocities and the genocide of the Israeli government. This is despite the condemnation by the previous ambassadors of Israel to South Africa, who were clear that the acts of the Israeli government are a repeat of apartheid and not different to the apartheid antics. The position of the ambassador of Israel in South Africa is becoming very untenable. Cabinet has decided to instruct DECO to take necessary measures within the diplomatic channels and protocols to deal with the conduct of the ambassador of Israel to South Africa.
For more on this, I'm joined by SABC News' reporter Canny Maphanga following that Cabinet announcement. Very strong words used.
Good afternoon to you, Francis, and to the viewers at home. You've heard from the words of the Minister and the Presidency. It does seem that a significant step is being taken by the South African government. They're going beyond the long-standing calls against this Israel-Palestine conflict, and now they've started to take a bit of action. So what you've seen is the Minister in the Presidency confirming that Cabinet has resolved to withdraw all of its diplomats from Tel Aviv for further consultations. Now, we don't know what that process will entail, and once those consultations have taken place, obviously the Cabinet will then communicate with us further what that decision process is or how they will move going forward on that long-standing stance in this conflict. But of course, upon hearing this decision to withdraw all of the diplomats from Tel Aviv, essentially what the minister was probed on is what that means, because she followed up with stating that the conduct, or they were disappointed in the conduct of the Israeli ambassador to South Africa, and they have now instructed DECO to deal with that matter. But what does that mean? I mean, questions were posed to her. Does that mean that the ambassador will be expelled? Will the Israeli embassy lose their status? Of course, we didn't get answers regarding that. We were told that the Ministry of DECO will elaborate further on that, what that process will be. But I do understand that our colleagues from the international desk did probe the Minister, Naledi Pandor, on this issue, and there was no clear answer as to the steps that will be taken and what particularly triggered the Cabinet to call out the Israeli ambassador earlier today in the Cabinet outcome briefing.
Yeah. All she said was that they are concerned, that he is concerned about people who care about Palestinians. We've certainly had the ambassador on SABC News several times, and I think it's fair enough to say he's critical of the government stance supporting Palestinians, but that's all we know. So we don't know if it's something more than that has triggered this.
Essentially, what the minister said, and I quote, on what will be done to the ambassador, well, that's up to DECO. What she did qualify that statement with was that he is a guest in our country and he must conduct himself as a guest, and he has, quote unquote, no right to undermine the leadership of South Africa. So there you have it from the ministry. It appears there may have been some sentiments shared that they may have felt is undermining the government of South Africa on the stance, and felt that DIRCO needs to address it. But there's no indication that this significant step may mean anything like that people have been speculating about regarding what exactly does it mean to instruct DIRCO to handle that matter with the ambassador.
Yeah, we don't know if it's a discussion or more. The wording, let's look at the other matter. South African diplomats in Israel will be recalled for further consultations. So it doesn't sound like a full withdrawing or shutting down the embassy, but some action. It sounds possibly the first salvo.
Yes, Francis, it sounds like action beyond what we've seen, which is the statements and the talk show from the South African government. In the past, you have seen with the governing party resolutions being taken with respect to the downgrading of the embassy. And we saw the former minister, Lindiwe Sisulu, in an interview with the SABC, trying to implement that resolution and receiving a lot of backlash, you may remember, at that time, and that didn't take place. Upon the governing party also marching a few weeks ago, recently rather, to the Israeli embassy, that question was put again, what happens beyond this talk show? So I guess what we're seeing now is some of those resolutions taking place. She did kick off the Israel-Palestine portion of the outcomes by stating that cabinet is disappointed on the Israeli government's refusal to respect humanitarian law. So we can expect that following those consultations, we'll understand a bit more clearly regarding the actions of the South African government. Then, of course, our colleagues at the international desk, international editor Sophie Mkwena and Kaya Kumalo, are with the minister, the DIRCO minister, as she hosts her Ukrainian counterpart. They'll be able to get more details on this task given to DIRCO to deal with the ambassador to South Africa.
All right, thank you very much, Canny Maphanga. So the South African government now stating categorically that what is going on, it believes is genocide and that humanitarian law is being broken.